In today's show, we're looking ahead to Week 14 in the NBA. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_Beeble, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. It's Week 14 coming up in the NBA, so we're going to take a crack. We're going to have a look at Week 14. We're going to see what we can possibly do with it. We can see how we can navigate what is a pretty weird schedule. So let's, let's get it on, Gilly. All right, Week 14. A lot of games. A lot. 23 teams play 4 games this week. That's out of 30 teams, if you didn't know. 23 teams play 4 games. So your edge of you're getting those teams with the extra games, it's not really there because everyone's playing 4, except for the ones who aren't, and it's a real detriment. The Cavs, the Wolves, the Nuggets, and the Suns, that should say 3 games. My graphic has been incorrectly typed. The Cavs, the Wolves, the Nuggets, and the Suns play 3 games. And the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Rockets play 2 games. So stinking weeks for the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Rockets, and not much better for the Cavs, Wolves, Nuggets, and Suns with the 3. And I talked about this maybe last week, is that, 2-game weeks are annoying, but if the majority of the league is playing 3 games, it's not as detrimental. When everyone's playing 4 games and you play 2, well, it's just terrible. Like that value of those players, you're going to get outstripped by a bunch of scrubs on some of these other teams. Chimezie Metus and your Grayson Allens are going to outperform Brandon Ingram's and not Chimezie Metu, sorry, because he's playing on the Kings. Your Brandon Ingram and your Jonas Valanciunas, for example. Your Grayson Allen's going to get past those blokes. Your Lamar Stevens might get better results than you get out of De'Aaron Fox or Buddy Hield or someone like that. Like that's just the way that it works when you've got such an unbalanced schedule. And for the Rockets, it is the beginning of a terrible, terrible run of things for them. They play 2 games this week. They also play 2 games next week. What a stinking run that is. Then 4 in Week 16. Then they have 2 games. Then they have 3 games. Then they have 2 games. Now that 3 and 2 games at the end there, that is across the All-Star break. So they're sort of in decent company with other teams there playing those small amount of games. But in the next 4 weeks, the Rockets play 10 games. That is horrific. And then you're back into the All-Star break. 3 2-game weeks out of the next 4. So your fringe players, maybe that means Kevin Porter. It definitely means Jalen Green, Eric Gordon. It means the delicate dancer, Alperen Şengün, unfortunately.
It's a delicate dance in just 17 steps.
These players, you're going to get no value out of them. So while we love a stash of Şengün, we love to hope that Kevin Porter gets better. We love to hope and stash Jalen Green. It's almost going to be impossible to stay competitive if you're doing that with multiple Rockets. Well, it is going to be impossible to do it with multiple Rockets over the next 4 weeks. And we're getting to the stage where we're getting close to fantasy playoffs, and you might just have to be cutting bait on Jalen and Şengün and Porter if you haven't already. It's a terrible stretch of weeks for the Houston Rockets coming up. Now, not only is it a terrible week for those teams playing the 2 games, the Kings, Pelicans, Rockets, not only is it a terrible run of weeks coming up for the Houston Rockets, it's a terrible schedule for the week. It is just completely unbalanced. We've got 12 games on Monday, Martin Luther King Day. That's the standard. We always get that on Martin Luther King Day. 12 games. It's a busy, busy Monday. We get 2 games on Tuesday. Okay? Then we get 13 on Wednesday, my guys. Then 3 on Thursday. All right, so we're just up and down here. Then we go 11 on Friday, so another busy one. And then 3 on Saturday. What are we doing? And then 11 on Sunday. What a shitful week that is. That is just dreadful scheduling. It is horrible for watching purposes, I think, as well. Everything gets lost on these big days. We've got 4 days of at least 11 games. And things get lost on those days. You've got to be extra switched on. I'm going to have to be extra switched on those days to make sure that I'm providing all the right analysis and projection updates on those days. It's going to be really tough. It's not going to be easy at all to pay attention and to get value out of streaming for the week and getting the right sort of information in it. And we'll talk about streaming in just a second. But before we talk about that, there's a little sound that I can just start to hear coming through. There it is. It is the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, to run, and to grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big businesses. So upstarts and startups, established businesses alike, can sell everywhere. They can synchronize online and in-person sales and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. As my screen just stops loading, so that's sick. But Shopify helps supercharge your knowledge, your sales, and your success. So discover endless possibilities. Shopify is tirelessly reinventing tools of growth for millions of businesses, helping them succeed every day. And if you go right now to shopify.com/lockedonnba, that's all lowercase. You can get you can get a trial of their full suite of features. So go to shopify.com/lockedonnba. Remember to use all lowercase. That's shopify.com/lockedonnba. All right, let's go to the next part of the show, and that's talking about streaming. It is rough, man. It is not a good week at all. We've got 3 days. Yesterday, normally I would have if you play 9 games or fewer on a day, you can stream that day. And last week, with all the COVID absences, let's extend that to 10. Well, the COVID absences are basically gone. There's not many of those anymore. So we're going to bring that threshold back to 9. But even if I kept it at 10, there are only 3 days this week where there are fewer than 11 games. And that's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So they're our stream days to start. We've got 3 days to stream. And because of the way the schedule's set out, there's not many teams that actually have quality games this week. And the quality game is a game on a day where you can stream. The Knicks, the Warriors, the Pacers, and the Suns have 2 quality games. And this is where it's, again, one of those things that I bang on about continually, and I'll do it again. Number of games is important, but it's not as important as when those games are. Because the Knicks and the Warriors play 4 games, like 21 other teams. That's cool. They have 2 games on low volume days. The Pacers and the Suns, though, they're, or not the Pacers, so the Pacers also have 4 games. The Suns, they're one of the teams I mentioned at the start that have 3 games. But they have 2 of their games on the low volume days. So the Suns' 3-game week in daily changes formats for free agents is just as valuable as the Hawks' 4-game week. Because the Hawks don't play on a single quality game. They don't play on Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. The Heat don't play on those streaming days. The Jazz, the Celtics, the Hornets, the Bulls, the Magic, the Sixers, Blazers, Nets, Spurs, Grizzlies, Lakers, Wizards, Raptors, Clippers. None of those teams, all 4-game teams, they don't play a single game on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So if you're streaming free agents or back-end sort of players on those days, like you've got someone you're holding on to, maybe it would have been a Kobe White before the Zach LaVine injury. You're talking Cody Martin in Charlotte. You might not use him at all this week. He's sitting there, and Kelly Oubre's out, and Martin's providing good steals, but he might be your 12th best player, and he gets into games 0 times this week. Your Heat, you're holding on to Omer Yurtseven. You streamed in Max Strus. And then with Bam back, Yurtseven, maybe he plays 20 minutes a night, but will he be your 12th best player on those 4 high-volume days, and you don't use him at all? This is the problem with so many teams not having quality games. So many of them. And then you've got the Suns down the bottom where you just think, they've only got 3 games. Yeah, but 2 of them are on those low volumers. Jay Crowder, JaVale McGee, Cameron Payne. These guys come into action as having some stream value because you can actually use them during the week. Whereas these other blokes, No chance. You can't use them. On a 13-game day, on a 12-game day, you can't use these players. You can't just look at why I'm going to add someone unless your team is just completely blown up with injuries, which is possible. But again, that problem that we had with all the COVID absences has it's tended to dissipate at the moment. I think there's only 30 or 25 players, maybe not even, maybe only 20 players still in COVID protocols. There's not that many anymore, as opposed to 150 or whatever it was not that long ago. Let's look at the back-to-backs for the week. And again, there's no real streaming plan for this week. Yeah, Tuesday, Thursday, the Knicks and the Warriors have a back-to-back. They're two of the teams who have got the two quality games, as I mentioned. And then Thursday, Saturday, these aren't even real back-to-backs. These are games, low-volume days with a big boy sandwich in the middle. Then Thursday to Saturday, the Pacers and Suns have that. But that's great. You've got your stream spot. You've got your 4 acquisitions for the week. You can't really do anything with it, though, can you? I mean, you can add a Knicks and Warriors player on Tuesday. They play Thursday, but you can't drop them to get advantage of the second back-to-back, the Thursday-Saturday combination. So what you can do is you can scrounge one extra game this week by either streaming a Knicks Warriors player for the Tuesday-Thursday or for a Pacers Suns on the Thursday-Saturday. That's all you can do. And I think one thing I should have mentioned, I should have put a graphic up for this, and I apologize. One way to maybe get a head start is to look for these teams who play the Sunday, Monday back-to-back heading into this week, ending week 13, starting week 14. So you use an ad from week 13 to boost yourself for an extra game in week 14. But with so many games on MLK Day, I don't even know if it's going to be worth it. You might even not use this player. But these teams, the Nets, the Blazers, the Kings, the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Cavs play Sunday, Monday. So you get the use of them to close out your week on week 13, and then they're there available for Monday. But again, who knows if they play? They probably don't even play in your lineup on that day. So when we look at streaming, there is no way to scheme any more than one extra game. And you can only do that by either going the Tuesday-Thursday combination, Knicks-Warriors, or you stream anyone you want on the Tuesday and then add a Pacers or Suns player on Thursday for that back-to-back. But that doesn't actually mean that doesn't really help you because you've got 4 acquisitions for the week. Now, if you're in a situation where you've got 20 acquisitions for the year, a terrible system, by the way. If you've got 20 acquisitions for the year, then yes, taking advantage and getting that one extra game actually matters over the course of the year. But if you're a standard league who's got 4 ads for the week, well, you just add someone on Tuesday. You can drop them if you want. You add another person Thursday if there's a better option out there, and you add a different person Saturday, and you've still got one addition left that they're left scratching its balls. What do you do with it? Unless you've got 2 streaming spots and you can work something out there, but that's it. There's no way to really, which is, some would say it's fairer, but it's also not. Because if you're at a games played disadvantage because of the players on your team, you've got no way of catching that up. You don't have an ability to work the system. And sometimes your opponent may work the system as well. They may not be able to work the system, and you've got that ability with the way your roster's set up, but you just don't have that ability this week. So if there is a games play discrepancy, you've got no way of really catching up on that and being able to reel in that difference. In terms of front and back load, again, it's just a stinker for the Rockets. They don't play until Wednesday, and then they don't play on the weekend. So Houston plays Wednesday and Friday. That's it. The Nuggets and the Kings also don't play until Wednesday. So any of your fringe sort of guys there, they all obviously miss that Tuesday option. And then on the weekend, the Pelicans and Rockets don't play. So their week ends pretty early. Again, it's just a really, really bad week for streaming in fantasy basketball. But it's not a bad week to eat some Built Bars, because Built Bars are the best tasting protein bar ever. Have I had my Built Bar today? No, that's why I'm cranky. I need to get that delicious taste into my mouth. Giggity. These things don't taste like your standard protein bar. They are absolutely tasting like a candy bar, but they're doing it with like half the calories. 130 calories in the bar, 17 grams of protein, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs. I'm telling you now, once you've had them, you'll be going, what are these other protein bars? Are they kidding? They're joking me. Yeah, they're G League protein bars. These are the real deal, the old Built Bar. So grab yourself a box. Actually, no. Grab yourself multiple boxes. Go to Built.com. Use our promo code LOCKED15, that's LOCKED15, and load yourself up with Built Bars. Built Bar is built different. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year, continuing towards the playoffs, which are going to start in about an hour's time here in the NFL. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all of your sports wagering action for 2022. It's a new year and a new updated desktop site, or use your mobile site to sign up today using our code LOCKEDON and get a 50% welcome deposit bonus on your first deposit. From basketball to football, the NHL, boxing, UFC, or right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait and take advantage of all of the fantastic offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline is where the game starts. Let's go and have a look at some weekly league options for the week. Again, there's not much out there. There's not many guys where I go, man, you got to really add this guy for the week. We'll look at a couple of Clippers. Isaiah Hartenstein looks like he could be returning. Nico Batum might be an option to add for the week with 4 games. Amazingly, in Detroit, Corey Joseph is actually providing okay value because he's getting 25 minutes a night. Grayson Allen could become a play. Josh Richardson, but yeah, we're talking bottom of the barrel scrapes here. And I don't even, depending on how your team looks, you might add these guys and not even start them anyway. So I wouldn't get too excited. There might be something there, but it's not particularly enticing. For players you can sit, well, I'm sitting all of my Rockets, all of my Pelicans, and all of my Kings with the exception of probably Tyrese Halliburton. He's probably the only guy. I probably wouldn't start Valanciunas or Ingram. I'd consider it, but I probably wouldn't. Halliburton probably the only one there who I would consider as a guy to start out of those 3 teams. And then players who are rostered a lot, Monty Morris, Dennis Schroeder, Klay Thompson with only 3 games and low minutes, no start there, and Omer Yurtseven with the return of Bam Adebayo. Yeah, look, I'm not recommending dropping Yurtseven. I'd like to see what goes on with the rotation. I highly doubt that they're going to say, all right, we're going to start Yurtseven and Bam together. I just don't think that's a possibility at all. But I still am not going to, I'm not fully banking that is the absolute guarantee and that's what's going to happen. I'm 99.9% sure. And personally, if I had Yurtseven, I dropped him. All right, but that's what I did. Because I did have him and I dropped him. And I definitely wouldn't start him because of the uncertainty about his role this week. Let's look at some points leagues ads and then some points leagues sits. Brandon Clark, Kobe White with Zach LaVine out for this week. Hamidou Diallo, Isaiah Hartenstein's returning, as I said. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can be an ad. And the Farmers Union himself, Amir Coffey. These guys should be able to be added and probably started in a lot of points leagues. And then in points leagues, I wouldn't start any Rockets, Pelicans, or Kings. None of them. No Ingram, no Valanciunas, no Fox, no Halliburton, no Christian Wood, none of those guys. I don't think I'd be starting any of them. And we're sitting Kevin Love, we're sitting Aaron Gordon, we're sitting Klay Thompson, and Omer Yurtseven. That'll do it for us today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. If you're here on YouTube, thumb it up. Leave your comments down below, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.